So to get the conversation going, you start with one person who does the talking and the other person who does the listening. We call the talker the hailstorm, and we call the listener the turtle, because hailstorms usually send bullets down from above, and the turtle goes into his shell to avoid the hailstorms. So in every relationship, you'll find a hailstorm and a turtle. And every now and again, you change places. When the turtle's had enough of the hailstorm, turns into a hailstorm, and the hailstorm becomes a turtle. But we usually always start with a turtle. The reason is that the turtle doesn't often get a chance to talk because hailstorms happen regularly. The person who is usually the hailstorm is the woman, and most turtles are the men. Not in all cases, but mostly women are hailstorms and men are turtles. And as I say, they change places often as well. They can come out of that shell with all guns firing, and then the person sitting opposite had better watch out. Mostly, I find that they have communication problems because they don't really get far when they're trying to explain something before being interrupted. So they never really get to finishing their sentences. Some people take a circuitous route around a problem until they eventually reach the point. Also, people are defensive. They don't want to hear about their faults. And we all have faults. So if someone is going to try and fix a part of the relationship that has now gone sour, they start on the points that hurt them or bug them. And the other person doesn't really want to hear about that. So they defend themselves. So you get this defensiveness in communication. And another thing that very often happens is that they personalize the criticism that's been given. And perhaps here one always needs to remember that the person criticizing is really throwing the mirror of himself onto the other person. So what they're criticizing is something that they don't really like about themselves. And most people don't know that. Most people don't realize that they are actually talking about their own imperfections and not so much about the point that they're trying to make with the other person's faults. So to personalize it and then try to defend yourself would simply send the argument spinning round in a circle, and no one then gets anywhere. Hence, in an Imago type of therapy, you get one person talking and one person listening. And in that way, you eventually get the point of what it is that is the problem in the relationship.
Is there a special way that you should be approaching your partner when you have an issue that you want to, discuss with them?
Yes, approaching your partner in any kind of situation has to be done from an I point of view and not a you point of view. I mean, talk about your feelings, how you feel about something, rather than saying, well, when you come home late, that upsets me. Rather, I was very worried about you because I didn't expect you to come home so late. It has a much better vibe, and it certainly doesn't sound like an accusation, like, where were you and what were you doing? So there's the you message annoys people, whereas if you start with, I was worried about you coming home so late, I didn't know what had happened to you, there's there's concern, there's respect, it's not an accusation. So from that point of view, you would always talk about your own feelings in a certain situation rather than try to point fingers at your partner because you've got three looking back.
If you are in a relationship where you are having problems, what would your advice be to you? What's the next thing that you do?
I think the first thing that you have to do is you have to set the scene. Maybe make a nice dinner, sit at the table opposite each other, and then open up open up the conversation with, I'd really like to talk to you about something. So already you have the partner's attention, and you're not trying to talk over a cell phone. All the electronics must be put aside, and there must be a focus on what the person is saying. You then try in a short possible way of explaining what it is that's worrying you. And your partner needs to listen very carefully and do what the Imago therapists tell us to do and repeat what you're saying so that you can show that you've understood. And it can be cumbersome and it can be tiring, but the product at the end of it is so worthwhile if you just sit and do the talking and the listening together.
Is it something that you can do on your own, or
you can do this on your own, but you do have to be taught how. You have to have a trained therapist to teach you how, and you have to know the rules. And the rules are that you can't ask questions, you can't talk back during the session. The person gets his full hour to do the talking and a full hour of listening. And then the following week you swap and the other person does all the talking, you do all the listening. In a home type situation, once you've mastered the idea of Imago, you get better and better at it. So now if you're at home and you want to talk to your partner about something, you start, as I explained, over the dinner table once you've eaten, and you then do about 10 minutes of talking. And your partner does a repeat. You might want to then swap, but it's better to get your whole story out rather than to have it chopped in the middle and go off the point.
So you don't recommend one person says something and another person responds?
No, because you're going to go around in circles, and you don't want to go around in circles. You want to actually find what the point is, and you want to find out where it came from and where it's going, rather than going around in circles. So you would certainly alternate. The other person does get a chance to talk, and for as long as the first person spoke, that's how long the second one should speak.
So to summarize, it's actually a structured way of talking when it comes and approaching your partner with challenges.
That's right.
Where you both respect each other and listen to each other, and you both have a chance to have a say and be listened to.
Exactly.